What's up, guys? Today on the Dad Shift, I just want to take a chance, and I know I referenced my testimony last time with the help of Jordy over at the Life After Christ podcast. He's going to let me share my testimony that I shared on his page. So, with that in mind, I just want to say thanks, Jordy. Appreciate that. I also wanted to preface just with my story. One of the things I felt like I didn't have any resources at the time, so I wanted to kind of share that. For one, um, help's always available. So right now, I don't know if you know about it, but we do have a suicide hotline. It's just 988, and you can call that number 24/7 for free help. And then another resource that I've come up upon is called Next Rung. I'm gonna see if I can get that right there, if it'll focus. So Next Rung, they offer their own version of support. It is a phone number you can call to talk with a peer at any time. So that's someone that's been in firefighting or EMS, so they kind of can identify a little bit more about what you're going through. The number for that is 833-698-7864, and they also have email, and they have a website. It's really awesome. They have some really cool stuff. So I just wanted to put those out there. So just be thinking about that. Hopefully you never go through something like what I went through, but if you do, there is help out there and there's resources. Thanks. Hope you enjoy the podcast.
I need you to help me, cause I just wanna be faithful. Faithful.
I'm going to introduce you from my point of view and just kind of let you introduce yourself. I've been talking with my wife about naming this the Smoke Eaters edition of my Life After channel.
There you go.
Just so it's specific to fire department testimony, and it means a lot. And first and foremost, Tanner Carroll, welcome to the channel, man. It's good to have you on here. You have been my friend, but first and foremost, you boldly a Christian, a follower of Christ, husband second, and now a father of two girls. It's you're a good friend, you're a brother, and you're a husband. And like I said, man, you're a follower of the Lord. And I never thought our relationship would continue to grow the way it has over the years after you left the department that we both were at one point. And so that's going to be, right into the mix of your testimony, and we'll touch on that. And if we have enough time, I'll pick apart a couple of parts in your testimony to come back to and talk with you about. But excited to have you on here, man. Dude, the floor is yours. I've been waiting to hear your testimony for a long time, so it's all you, my man.
Yeah, man. Well, that's high praise. I appreciate it. Yeah, like Jordy said, my name's Tanner. Married to Amanda. We got married about 5 years ago. We have two daughters. I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old, and I'm a firefighter here just north of Houston, Texas. Rolling right in, I guess. I didn't really grow up in the church, but I did attend on occasion, normally when my grandma would pick me up. So faith wasn't really a huge thing in the house. I always had like pseudo Christian teachings, but it was more of a whenever it was convenient. But in 5th grade, my grandma took me to a drama that my church was performing. It's called Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames, which, long story short, basically kind of had this depiction. It would be like people that died, they'd be at Heaven's Gates, and Jesus would say whether they got in or not. It was a little
Oh,
dramatic. It was kind of scary, but also it kind of got the point across. I had
yes.
never been presented the gospel before at that point, and I knew that that's something that I wanted. So they had an invitation after the play, and someone walked me through the gospel individually, and I said, "Yeah, I want that. I want Jesus."
How old were
And
you at the
then
time?
I was in about 5th or 6th grade.
Okay. So you
So
were young.
yeah, middle school. And then followed through with baptism a couple months later. And yeah, so that kind of started the faith journey, but only being in 5th grade. Obviously, I couldn't make the choice for my family to go to church.
Right.
I tried
Yeah.
to make a little bit more of an effort, but it was kind of at the mercy of who would take me. And like I say, luckily my grandma, she was amazing. She always pitched in. Her and my grandpa, they tried to get me there every time they could. So around eighth or ninth grade, we had some family drama. I have an older brother, just stuff that was going on with him, which ended up being a good thing because it kind of drove my family to the church. We
Yeah.
had a new pastor join, and they decided to start going as a family. So that was right when I got to go into what we called the youth group at church. It was like the high school group. They had their own building and all this stuff, so it was super cool. And then pretty much got plugged in right in. And so once I could drive, I pretty much spent all my time at the church. Unfortunately, kind of my family stopped going, but I pretty much lived there. So between that football in high school, and then I did leadership as well. Pretty much every moment that wasn't in football or volunteering was spent at the church, which was good. And I actually ended up, I was even working there as a janitor at one point.
Yeah.
So, I
Had you a
mean,
spiritual
it was a
babysitter.
full, yeah, full-time gig, and I got plugged in with a bunch of really good guys. I got plugged in with some older guys that did some mentorship back then, and just kind of followed them, and they kept me out of trouble, which was nice.
Yeah.
And so I actually ended up following them to A&M. And so I knew I wanted to be a firefighter in school. That kind of was just something that came across randomly. I don't have any family that's a firefighters or anything like that, but it kind of just felt like a calling. I knew it was a dark area, and I did some ride-alongs in high school with a buddy in Longview, and just fell in love with it. But my mom wasn't the biggest fan of that, and so she said, "Well, go get your degree and then figure out what happens."
Yeah.
And
It's prolonging the inevitable there.
right, yeah, I
Yeah.
pretty much figured at that point. I was like, I'll probably find a job before I go to the fire school, but A&M has the good fire school, so. But yeah, so I was really involved at A&M, kind of in the Christian bubble as well. I did the Breakaway, which is like the big Bible study. I did Impact Camp, which is like a freshman camp. And then I was even in a Christian fraternity that I was a pledge trainer for, so it was kind of my job to lead those guys through their first semester in the fraternity and just try to get a spiritual track for them, kind of figure out what they were doing and how to do it. And so
Yeah.
always involved. But I guess it would have been my junior year, I decided to do fish camp, which is kind of like the big camp at A&M. If you've ever heard about it, they do. It's like a just an introductory camp, so it's to get you into a community, but it's definitely not like Christian based. It's not bad either, but it's a little bit more secular, and that was kind of my first experience out of the Christian bubble, if you
Oh,
will.
wow.
And it really actually opened my eyes. It was probably one of the best experiences I could have because, as great as it is to be surrounded by believers, sometimes you just get blindsided by some of that,
Yeah.
and you kind of forget what it's like in the real world. And so that was not only was that a good segue into fire school, but also ended up just forming some really good relationships in that, and actually ended up two of the guys that were in my group ended up joining the Christian fraternity with me and never had beliefs before that. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that leads into fire school where I jumped into EMT and fire academy right there. Obviously, that was a little bit of a shock. The culture is a little bit different than the Christian bubble.
Yeah.
And
100%.
yeah, they've got if you know anything about Teaks, I mean, there's a bunch of Canadians and stuff. Like half our class was Canadians that come in for 3 months or so, and so you get really tight really quick. It's not a liveaboard or anything like that, but I mean, you still get pretty tight knit. We're there every day for 3 or 4 months.
Right.
So got that and really loved Fire Academy. It kind of just solidified the calling, but definitely made it a little rough. Getting used to the culture because I knew nothing about it. But ended up testing with fire department where I worked with y'all. So they actually gave me an offer before I even got out of the academy. Said if you get all your certs, we'll hire you. And so on August 1st, 2016, I officially started as a firefighter. That was the first job I ever had, the
Yeah.
real job,
Yeah.
I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I mean, as anyone in the fire service knows, that rookie year can be pretty brutal.
Yeah. It's
And
pretty.
mine wasn't an exception.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
But
Yeah.
there were definitely
So,
days that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we'll slow down here because like this is where yeah, your path and my path has finally crossed. And you're coming in as a Christian man with a set of morals based in, the Bible and your faith and continuously being poured into by the church, your family. And now you're coming into a den of lions with all walks of life, including myself. Because in 2016, I'll be the first to humbly say that I was nowhere close to the Lord in any capacity. And so I was part of the lions in the den. And, rookies are prey at that point,
Yeah.
regardless. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, man, that's kind of our first interaction with each other. And now here we are, it's been almost 10 years
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we've both, I could say, have changed dramatically
Yeah.
in the course of life. So, all right, go ahead.
Yeah, well, like I say, it was a rough rookie year to say the least. There were days that I came home and just wanted to quit. Between all the pranks and stuff, like I said, I was not used to that. And coming from A&M and being kind of like the golden child, I was like not used to getting really picked on a whole lot.
Yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
it was a shock. But honestly, looking back, it was one of the best experiences I ever had. I mean, I got close with you guys, and a lot of that is just because of the stuff that we went through. So I think there are times that it can be taken over the edge, but I don't know that
Yeah.
y'all ever did that, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that. But yeah, so um, admittedly, I think uh, that I guess intro period kind of knocked away uh, I guess the drive that I thought I was gonna have going in, like gonna save all these people and all this stuff, and I
Yeah.
realized
Yeah.
that it wasn't necessarily gonna be like that.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly what the movies want you to believe coming into it.
right,
And just the harsh reality of the fire services, it's nowhere close to that.
right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, unfortunately, my faith kind of took a little bit of a black backslide, not a backslide, but it wasn't as prominent as I would have liked it to been.
Yeah.
And so luckily, I mean, I never gotten into any big trouble or anything like that. I have a pretty good set of friends that keep me on the right path, so
Yeah.
that wasn't an issue. But like I said, I wasn't as vocal as I want. But that leads into about 2020 I met my wife in 2018. We dated for about 6 months and then got engaged and then got married in January of 2020. So it was an awesome wedding. Pretty sure
Yeah.
you were there. It
Yeah.
was a good
Yeah, it
time.
was. Yeah.
And it was perfectly timed, man. It was right before COVID shutdowns,
Yeah.
which we all know how crazy that was.
Yeah.
Uh, Honestly, our first year of marriage was like super rough.
Yeah.
Between COVID itself, and then in the span of 2 to 3 months, that's when I left the department that I was at with y'all. I moved, which I had never moved from Longview before.
Yeah.
And then we bought a house, but we moved in with her in-laws in the meantime. So I had like some of the biggest
So
stressors all at once.
I wanna slow down and touch on that too. You moved close to Houston. Why there? What's the reason for moving that direction?
So we were just trying to figure out where to go. We were looking like Dallas or Houston area. Amanda's parents live here in Houston, close to Houston. And my parents, we have a farm that they spend a lot of time at, so we always know we wanted to have family close. But
Yeah.
my parents are already raising a grandkid, and
Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
didn't want to be too much of a burden to them. And so
Right.
we figured out Houston was a good spot. The department was really good. They paid well. And so we just decided to move here. And this is where Amanda was living before we met.
Yeah. Okay. And that's the
Um,
part I
so
want
sh
to,
it,
yeah, I'm sorry. That's the part I really want to slow down and touch on and honor the decision you made to be the leader of your house and do what you felt right by your wife. Because you had everything made up here where you lived. Everything you held dear was up here. But the second you chose Amanda in marriage, you sacrificed selfish desires and put your family first. And you knew that was a need she needed to be met. And you boldly stepped away from all the comforts of East Texas and took your wife, and you really honored her in that. And I'm going to stop you periodically to here because I've been looking over your testimony. There's a lot of moments in your life where you are walking out your faith And I'm sure you know it, but I just want to make sure it's publicly honored too on my end, just so you know that, man, I've watched you and I've learned from you. And it's just such a blessing to now have your testimony out here to where we can kind of walk through it together.
Yeah, man. Well, I wish I could take a lot more credit for that. You made it sound really nice, but I
That's
can tell you
okay.
it was a dogfight. I didn't want to do it, and my mom definitely didn't. There was probably a while that she hated Amanda there for a little bit, but it made, I think, all of our relationships stronger, and it was the best thing for me and Amanda. That's the truth, and I saw that early on that that would be better for us. And it wasn't an easy decision, but I definitely think there was God was on the move there, even if I don't want to say it. So, I mean, like I say, that transition for me, that was rough, man. It was, like I say, it was a shock to everything I'd ever done, other than, once again, like I talked about how hard my rookie year was, and I had told
Yeah.
Amanda, I was like, this one's gonna be terrible.
Yeah.
And like I said, being on top of COVID, that made it all the kind of weird too. So it's like you don't really get the camaraderie that you're used to, where you get to know everybody. There was that whole year. I mean, there's half of the department that I didn't even get to meet just because restrictions and stuff like that. It was weird. It was
Yeah.
a weird time, and it was a weird time for us. And unfortunately, that kind of drove us to isolation. It was good because we got to work on our relationship, but then we
Right.
weren't reaching out really at all with other people. So we lived with her parents for about, it was probably about 2 months. We got out pretty quick, which her sister ended up moving into. So I was the only one leaving the house. I was the only one that had I guess,
Yeah.
an important job enough.
Yeah.
What do they
Oh
call? I
yeah.
forgot what they called it. The essential or
Essential.
whatever.
Essential. Yeah. Put it on a
Yeah. So
t-shirt.
everyone would always look at me and be like, "What's the world like?" And that's a lot of pressure. And
Yeah.
so we fought a lot, man, that first couple months, and then ended up moving into the house that we bought, which was awesome, huge blessing. We got it at the right time, but yeah, after that, that definitely drove us to isolation. We were used to staying at her parents and having just constant contact with them to like trying to really start our own thing for real this time. It was like this was
Yeah.
the true, I think, start and test of our marriage.
Yeah.
And in that time, I got really, I don't know, I got really negative. I mean, I kind of, looking back, I mean, that was kind of the start of where this mental health struggle started. I just didn't
Yeah.
see the signs. I started having a lot of anger built up, and I would take that out on Amanda. And so there was a lot of fighting, and I don't fight well. I'm one of those, I like to say mean things and then run off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Amanda's like she wants to stay there and fight it out, and neither one of those are necessarily wrong.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that, and so it was just a bad combination. So begrudgingly, we joined some couples counseling, and through that, they gave us some tools to use here and there, and it helped a little bit. It helped me with my anger. They tell me to breathe a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, I know, I can do that. So,
Yeah. Sure.
so it worked for a little bit, and then right after COVID ended, we ended up buying an RV and just traveling Texas. And so I like to say that we kind of self-medicated. Instead of living the stressful life, we just took
Yeah.
off and whenever we could. With our schedules, we have pretty favorable. We don't have to take off a lot of time to get a lot of time off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
right.
we just traveled, man. We did the no kids lifestyle, and although we attended church, it was not a priority at all. I mean, it was one of those camping came first, and
Yeah.
then family, and then if we were here by chance, it was like we would go in, and so we never really got connected with that. And then on top of that, in all that chaos, I ended up picking up a pornography addiction. So that was a rough time. That I going into that, I didn't really think. I've always known that it was a bad thing, especially being in the faith since around fifth grade. Like that was something we're always told. And for some reason, I was told growing up, like once you got married, it's not going to be an issue. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so it just like, man, it just came out of nowhere. It seems like, which it didn't. It's always a slow fade, but honestly, I just kept like talking it down, like it's not really hurting anybody. It's not hurting my wife. It's a victimless crime, and that was
Mhm.
just a lie, man. And Amanda ended up actually catching me. She caught that browser history, and It, I thought it
Yeah.
was terrible. It was probably the worst day ever, but it was probably the best thing that could ever happen to us,
Wow.
honestly. And she broke down and she thought it was something that had to do with her, and
Yeah.
that was like it hit me. I'm like, all right, like yeah, this like it had nothing to do with her. It was all me. It was all selfish stuff. And so, um, anyways, yeah. So she caught that, and then uh, with some accountability from some friends and through her, I was able to break that addiction. And one of the most powerful moments in our testimony, I think, as a couple was we were actually I was driving her to the airport, and she was going to be gone for like 3 or 4 days, and I
Yeah.
had looked at some pornography the night before, and I was like, man, I don't really want to tell her this because she's about to be gone. We're not going to really be able to talk about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And it was just weighing on me. And I said, hey, I messed up and I want to tell you. And I know it's not a good timing. And she didn't cry. She looked at me, and I mean, you could tell she was hurt, but it was different this time. It was like, hey, I'm. She just basically said, I appreciate you telling me, and I forgive you. And that was it, man. It just like this weight like lifted off my shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that was probably one of the most powerful moments. For some reason, it was always, if I struggled, it would be, she would check in like every week or so. So I'd be like, oh, well, no, this week it wasn't bad, or this week,
Yeah.
hey, I
Yeah.
did something. But this was the first time I came to her and was like, hey, I messed up, and that just changed something in our
Yeah.
marriage, man. That was the next level, and it was so much freedom.
Yeah.
Because I was so scared to tell her, and there were so many reasons I could have not. And
Yeah.
man, it was one of the best things that could have happened. That freedom there, and now there's a whole lot more communication open with that too. It's like
Yeah.
I see how she handled that, and she's amazing, and so I'm very thankful for her. So
Yeah, man, dude, that's incredible to hear and to just learn from your perspective, but also from an outside perspective. And whoever hears this, and of course, that's what's so powerful about testimony is you're selflessly, giving up your darkness so that others can see a light and know that they can come out on the other side of it. And even for the wives or future wives listening to this, what example did Amanda set? Oh my goodness, dude.
yeah,
Like I said, reading your testimony over and over again, she is Christ on earth the best she
she's a
can.
freaking rock star.
That's right. Yeah. And
Yeah,
to just, I've always heard, just from, schooling and whatever, that don't shame them into quitting. Let them make the choice themselves, but meet them with grace.
right.
And she is just the perfect example of what grace looks like, man. That's really cool.
Absolutely, man. So, but yeah, so that's been an awesome part of our testimony, and in 2022, we figured out that we were having our first daughter,
Oh yeah.
which we had been trying a little bit, and so we were expecting, which was good. And man, they say that whenever you have that first kid, something changes. And
Yeah.
whenever I held my daughter for the first time, like something clicked. I was like, all right, this is different. Like I'm responsible for someone else. Like
Oh
marriage
yeah.
is one aspect of that, but you're marrying into someone that is a full-grown adult and they can make their own decisions. But
Yeah.
when you're handed a baby that literally is dependent on mom and dad, it's just, man, it hits. And so yeah, I actually one of my friends told me about a book. It's called Dad Tired and Loving It. And it's a guy that started a ministry. It's a podcast for dads, and basically the book just kind of said, "Hey, it's okay to not know what you're doing. There's a bunch of guys out there that feel like that as well."
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, okay, I'm good. Because,
That
I'd kind
resonated,
of been
huh?
on, yeah, I'd been on this upward trajectory, at least with faith stuff, like I said, with Amanda and all that stuff. But I was like, man, this is a different level. A kid is a different level. So it definitely was, it was a good book to read. And they have an awesome community that you can join in on. They have their own app and stuff like that, and then like I said, a weekly podcast. So I just started digging into that, and ended up they had an annual retreat that they do, and man, it was life changing. I decided to go. It was in Arkansas the first year, and there was probably about 100. 150 guys there and all dads, and they led worship and stuff like that. And it's just, man, hearing a room full of men, like there's no women at this place
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
all. And it's like we're all just sitting there worshiping. Most of us don't know what we're doing, but we're all trying to go the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
How long was the retreat?
so it's just a weekend. So they do, I guess,
Okay.
3 days,
Yeah.
Friday
Yeah.
through Sunday. Um, but yeah, man, that was life changing, and that was early on in Harper's. She was probably, I don't know, 6 months old when I went, something like that.
Wow.
And so with that new responsibility, it kind of lit a fire under me to start taking faith seriously again.
Yeah.
And so we decided to make church a priority, and we actually, like I say, we'd been camping a lot, and we'd kind of put, if we don't have a camp time planned, we'll go to church. But now it was like,
Yeah.
no, we're not gonna intentionally skip a Sunday
Yeah.
when we have the opportunity to go to church. And so we
Wow.
got really plugged in with a local church. Um, and then we actually ended up doing a marriage ministry at a different church called Reengage, which if you've ever heard about it, it's a marriage ministry. It's incredible. And basically, it's like a 16-week program. And it was, uh, man, it was just what we needed. Like, we had been doing some couples counseling and stuff like that, but this ministry, like, it it tied it in with Christ, which is what
Yeah.
I think we were lacking. It's really hard, unfortunately, to find a good Christian counselor.
Yeah.
So it's like you pick one or the other, and it can be kind of rough. But this curriculum that they use at Reengage really just knocks it out of the park, man. And they help you learn communication and things like that, and then tying everything in with Christ.
Yeah.
And we got really involved with that ministry, and it ended up actually becoming co-leaders, or I don't like to say leaders because basically we're just facilitators.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we ended up being facilitators for that group, and then ended up actually moving over to that church because, like I told you, Amanda's doing a mom's ministry there and stuff like that, and all of it was tied in the same church. And Harper even goes to school there now. So,
I got you.
so we made the switch to that church and have gotten really plugged in there and just absolutely love it. Um, and I'd like to say that at that point it was all happily ever after, but that was really
Yeah.
just the start. And it's one of those
Yeah.
things. This ministry, the Reengage, really kind of got me and Amanda talking about serving a lot, and we both kind of started dreaming future wise, like, hey, we want to do something with this. And I kind of told you, in high school, I felt a calling as far as the firefighting went, and one of those things is that got me to that place was in firefighting, like one of the biggest. Our firefighting is one of the biggest careers with. I'm trying to think like divorce rates.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so with this ministry, I was like, this re-engage, I was like, man, I would love to tie this in with the firefighters somehow, like bring other guys into this or somehow bring it into the fire department, something like that.
Yeah.
And man, it seemed like something switched, man. And looking back, I wasn't a big believer in the spiritual attack stuff, but man, that's what it was. It just seemed like at that moment something switched, and just man, every day we were looking around, something was going wrong. Like, and I say that on paper everything looked great,
Yeah.
but it just seemed like, man, it just, I don't know. It's hard to explain really. Um, but I have a verse here that talks about spiritual warfare. So it's Ephesians 6:12, and it says, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." So during this
Man.
period of time, yeah, like I talked about, me and Amanda were the facilitators in the marriage ministry, and we figured out we were pregnant with our second daughter, and that wrecked shop on Amanda. It was just a rough pregnancy. There was a lot of struggles there, a lot of um, just things that she was struggling through, and on top of that, I was still having a lot of my anger issues and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I had found a pretty good counselor that I was going to regularly, but it was only helping to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Um, and there was a point around November or so that I told Amanda, I was like, "Hey, something's off, man. I don't want to be at home right now, and it's not that I don't want to be with y'all, but I don't feel comfortable at home, and work is my escape."
Yeah.
And she was kind of taken off guard by that. And I remember going out in the garage and I was crying and I was just like looking for resources. Like, I need something and I don't know what I'm struggling with. So I just looked up like help for first responders.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I ended up falling on this program. It's called After Action. It's a counseling service out of California, and they're first responder specific, and so they specialize in addiction and mental health counseling. And so it's a 2 week program. And so I told Amanda, I was like, "Hey, this is scary. I've literally never been to California." I said, "But I think I need to go to this place
Oh,
and see what they
wow.
have."
So she's
And
still
at first she
pregnant at
was,
this time?
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. Okay.
she's uber pregnant. I mean, I guess, at this month, it would have been about almost 5 or 6 months pregnant. So a little over halfway through.
Wow.
And I'm talking about leaving for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
with a toddler, on top
Yeah.
of that. And so, she was a little shocked at first, but of course, being the amazing woman she is, she's like, yeah, like you need to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I support that. And I know that something's off. And if this place is going to give us some hope, like absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I went, and basically while I was there, that was probably the first time that I'd ever had 2 weeks off of work straight, like not having to worry about anything. So that was
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
weird in itself, but learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about my struggles. They diagnosed me with PTSD, anxiety, and depression.
Yeah.
And so we kind of worked through that. And a lot of that was from family trauma in the past that also made it kind of weird because a lot of this counseling and stuff, it's like talking about how the job's rough. And I'm starting to realize that a lot of us firefighters, we take the job pretty well. It's the other stuff we don't deal with as well. So it's when we
Yeah.
take it home,
Yeah.
and then it's kind of this combination of stuff that makes it really weird. But so I went and did that. They call it a 2 week tune-up. It's basically just deep dive counseling and therapy. They have a bunch of group therapy, things like that there. And Yeah, so when I got back, unfortunately, Amanda, being here alone, she didn't get to work on any of that stuff she was going through.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I kind of came back into the same environment as before. And so now I had these skills. I'd realized that I was using anger as my primary emotion, but it's not a primary emotion. Anger is a secondary emotion. And so
That's right.
I had started moving into some of these, like, all right, well, this makes me feel this way, this makes me feel that way. And Amanda's amazing, but she didn't have that same intense counseling that I had.
Yeah.
And so we kind of went back to business as usual on our fighting stances, I guess. And there was a night that it just kind of got too far, and I told her, I was like, "Hey, I'm done." And ended up like we were kind of fighting in bed, and then I went and grabbed a gun, and unfortunately, that was the choice I made. I felt like there wasn't any other option. My brain was just shut off at this point, and I was like, "Hey, I know how to end that."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
luckily, she stopped me, and I'm pretty sure she called you, and then she called my
Yeah.
family as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just crying, man. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I think it sucks looking back at that because I definitely put my wife through some trauma on that,
Yeah, for sure.
and she's having to work through a lot of that now. But it was a turning point for sure. I think she realized this wasn't just like a normal run-of-the-mill fight, and this wasn't a run-of-the-mill issue. Because before going to after action, I mean, the depression and stuff was one thing, but the suicide was never an option, and something had clicked that made that an option, and we know that wasn't a good place to be. So,
Yeah.
um, we managed to make it through that, and we told some close friends and family what was going on, and luckily we were surrounded by an amazing community of people, and I had people checking in on me left and right, man. So it was really nice. And yeah, I mean, I look back and sometimes I'm like, where was God in all of this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And but just kind of like you said, there's so many points that he was there. I mean,
Right. Right.
from where Amanda stepped in on different things, and then like I said, even a random Google search, finding what I found.
Yeah.
I mean, all this pain and struggle has definitely brought us closer together, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. but I would say that it's worth it knowing that if someone gets something from the story and decides to reach out or if it changes their life, I mean, it doesn't matter if it does or not, but I know that God has a purpose in it.
Absolutely.
Um, and this is one of those things. It's going to be a lifelong journey. It's not all over yet, and I feel like we hear a lot of that in testimonies, which that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But also, there's people out there that are just living life, and that's okay. I mean, we talk about um, living in a community and things like that. We read the Bible, and we hear people going through these struggles. I mean, you go through Psalms, and you hear David literally talking about like why am I feeling this way? Why am I
Yeah.
downcast? All that stuff. He's had literally having a mental health struggle.
That's right. Yeah.
He's just yelling it out to the Lord, and
That's it.
I think that's okay to have that. So,
Yeah, for sure.
um, but yeah, man, and so this is kind of where we're at. This kind of brings us to today. I've been, like I say, continuing the counseling path, trying to get into this mental health stuff, and it's been a blessing. It's hard because, like I said, still that Christian counseling aspect, it's hard to find a lot of
Yeah.
that tied together. But I'm starting to find some resources on that, and just starting that journey, man. Just talking to people about it is one of the other things too. Like with a lot of counseling and mental health, they definitely prioritize self,
Yeah.
and I don't think that's all bad, but I think there's a second part to that too, which is just service and
Right.
healing. And I think with that healing, you've got to reach out and you got to help other people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So I got a bunch of just stuff about testimony and why it's so powerful. Like I said, just after you sent me your testimony, I kind of spent a lot of time looking at it. I just want people to understand too why it's so important to kind of open our mouths and talk about the hard things, not just the surface level everyday life that everybody gets to see. But man, just like you talked about the harder things, we tell our testimony. Number one, it's unique to us,
mhm.
but just because it's unique to us doesn't mean it's not going to reach other people. Um,
Right.
just like you specifically mentioned, it's like you're literally taking the words out of my mouth. You took the verse that I was going to use about we're at war with spirits and principalities, but it,
Yeah.
it makes the gospel relatable. You know,
Hmm.
go to Psalm and watch David wrestle with the mental struggles he struggled with, and he just man just looks straight up to the Lord and goes full all the way in and doesn't hold back. And man, that's exactly what you've done here too. The biggest thing is it glorifies God.
Right.
If we handle our testimony just right and we don't give the devil any praise through our testimony, it's going to glorify God in ways that we're not going to be able to comprehend, and we may never know. It could be a simple step in obedience, and that's all we're meant to know, and we have to trust that what we're doing is for His good and His glory. It's going to build faith in others too, especially in the fire service. If you've got guys that have no exposure to faith, kind of like I was for so long. And then a guy like you comes in, and then maybe a couple years later, another Christian comes through, boldly proclaiming their faith, number one, but not scared to talk about their testimony. It's definitely going to build faith in others. We see that with Paul. I mean, Paul's kind of
Hmm.
like the pillar of testimony. Uh, he gave his testimony several times in certain ways and all throughout Acts. My favorite one is when he's before King Agrippa and he tells him who he was, who he is when he met the Lord, and now who he is after. And
Hmm.
ultimately, you know, it didn't really go in his favor. But man, just to stand up there and no matter what, just show his faith and utter it with his words, it's just crazy. And then from a female perspective too, which we can relate to the story as well as men, but the Samaritan woman, Jesus
Hmm.
told her, you know, the one at the well where Jesus told her everything about herself.
Hmm.
And she just went and just, you know, spread her testimony throughout the town about who Jesus was. She took her testimony and pointed it back to Christ. And that's
Right.
just, there's so many other examples in the Bible. John 9:25, the man born blind. The Gerasene demonic, Mark chapter 5, verses 18 through 20.
Hmm.
I mean, just I've got so many written down, and I think my favorite verse with this is Revelation 12:11. And I'll quit talking after this one because this will be kind of This is a silencer here. They overcame him, him being the devil, by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And you're doing that
Mm,
every single day. Um, it's been a, it sounds like it's been a pursuit for you. And then you came into
absolutely.
marriage and the devil attacks you where God's meant to use you the most. And it seems like that's exactly what he's doing. But y'all have held fast. Uh, you have shown what a covenant's supposed to be, and it ain't glitter and glamour. It's
Right.
rough and it's hard, and it breaks my heart that y'all have to go through that. But at the same time, man, look what it's doing.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, it definitely, all these struggles had the potential to destroy our marriage. But the grace and protection of God has just been prevalent. Like I said, looking back, it can be easy to say, where was God in all of it? But then when you actually look back, you see all the things that He placed in our lives. And I mean, one of the things is just like establishing that community before all this stuff got really bad. I think if we hadn't done, the classes that we did, the re-engage and met the
Yeah,
couples and got tied in with our church before, I mean, it would have been a lot harder to be where we're at right now. I mean,
right.
one of the things that I had, one of the things, Galatians 6:2 talks about bearing each other's burdens and fulfilling the law of Christ. And unfortunately, before, that's something I wasn't doing. I was going to church, but I wasn't telling anybody what I was going through. I was trying to be the good Christian.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think there's been a lot of reward, or reward, maybe not the right word, but a lot of progress, I guess, in opening up about that and just being honest with people. And a lot of times people don't know what to tell you, but that's not why it matters anyways. For one, it's getting it off your chest, and like I said, we're bearing each other's burdens. They
yeah,
may not
man.
have all the right answers, and that's okay. And then also in that, you give people a chance to point you back to Christ too. Whenever you're
Yeah,
in your own mind, it can be really hard to say take that reset, and so you need someone else saying, "Hey, like, what's Christ doing in your life right now?" And you'd be like, "Well, I don't know. I'm not paying attention."
yeah.
And so
Wow,
it gives you that kick to the teeth that you
that's
need.
so real.
And yeah, man. So it like I said, it stinks that that's what we've had to go through. But honestly, it's made us stronger, and it's given us a little bit more of a drive to help other people through this too. I mean, especially in today's culture where marriage is just kind of a thing.
Yep,
It's
yep,
it's not really meant as a covenant, and it just gets trampled on, man. And in the fire service as well. I think probably 80% of the guys I work with are on their second or third marriage, and
yeah, yeah,
it's just a thing, man. It's a status, and that's it. But
yeah,
God says it's a lot more than that, and it's supposed to be a living testimony of Him. And uh, I think we're trying to live that out, and not perfectly by any means.
yeah,
But hopefully, we get to point people to Christ in that and what we've done.
yeah, man. That's perfect. Dude, well, I thank you so much for coming on here and boldly sharing your testimony and your faith. I think I'll pray us out, man, and we'll let you go and get going back to them sweet baby girls.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. All right. Lord, we love you. We just thank you for the opportunity for Tanner's sharing of his testimony, that you've instilled in him a boldness to proclaim his faith and walk out his faith in the day to day, Lord. Thank you for his example so that others may know you through that example. And may he always use his testimony to point others to you and to also show them grace the way you have showed him grace, showed all of us grace. We thank you for that. And Lord, we just humbly submit ourselves before you and to continue this path of leading others to Christ. And it's in his name I pray. Amen.
Amen, man.
All right, dude. I love you, man. I will,
Love you
yeah,
too.
yeah, let's keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Faithful.
All right, guys. So I just want to say thanks for listening. Hopefully, you got something out of that testimony, and we'll see you next shift.